another episode of The Mind of Reese. It is a very gloomy day here in southern San Diego, or is it northern San Diego? Southern California, northern San Diego County, North County. Yeah, it is the first gloomy day since summer. So, I mean, since last spring. I mean, really, there's really been no gloomy days. I don't know what I'm talking about. My mind is all over the place. I have been full send vulnerable share. I've been dealing with a lot personal stuff, and I was just breaking my own heart and really finding myself in the ebbs of my own personal relationships as well, and where I'm finding my business is doing really well. And it's so funny how those things always they don't ever match up, and you're always why is there, you always feel there's something always wrong, right? You're why is it just not easy the whole time? And really, there are moments where, of course, the one side of me is why is there always something wrong? And then there's the other side of me, and it's what way can I look at this? There's nothing wrong, actually. And this is all just in for my highest alignment. And it's exactly what I'm asking for. Because anytime we ask for more, I'm I want more. I want more freedom, more money, more clients, more business, more whatever it might be, more time. I am asking for an up-levelment from the universe. And the universe is okay, but does not mean you're going to get it in the way that you think. It doesn't mean that there isn't going to be crunchy new iterations of yourself that you must up level in order to meet the person that you need to become in order to get those new things, right? Because if it's something new, if it's something we've never had, that means that it is a miracle. That means it's something completely different than we've ever done. It's a different person. It's a different iteration of who we are as we become. And so that has been it's been such a morning where I have found myself in a total ebb, and I'm oh my gosh, I woke up this morning feeling my heart is broken, and really, full transparency, just really wondering, what's the next step in my personal relationship with my man. And I've been really feeling a lot of heaviness in that side of things, and so there's a lot of hard conversations needing to be had. And then there's the parts in my business where I'm in the middle of a launch and I'm launching Scale. And it's just been a holy moly, it's been such a beautiful launch. I've been so relaxed in the launch. And this morning, I look online and I've made $10,000 already for inviting two people that had said yes. And so it's wow, this is amazing. I've got this one side I'm fucking celebrating. And then there's this other side that I'm oh, my heart is broken. And then there's this next side, next week I'm doing something really amazing where I'm going to be covering mastectomy scars, and I'm doing it for free. And it's such a blessing that I get to do this for this woman. And we're going to be filming the whole thing. And I'm going to be teaching, artists how to build designs around it. And so there's also oh, my tattooing side of the business is going so well, and it's been so delightful to be able to have my coaching side of my business support my tattooing so that I can do these really big, huge projects for free, and so it's it's all life, and it's all wonderful. And I was talking to the art community today. I was if it wasn't for these ebbs, we would never know how good the flow gets to be. If everything was always in flow, I would take it for granted, right? As humans, we just naturally take things for granted. And so it's oh my gosh, but these heartbreaks, these ebbs, these crunchiness, I get to look at it from a perspective of I am going to see this on the other side, and this is going to be so good because this is going to teach me what real success, what real freedom, what real fulfillment, what real happiness feels like, because I've been able to hit rock bottom, because I've been able to go through an ebb and been able to look at it from a perspective of okay, how easeful can I go through this ebb? And I'm totally off topic here today. I wanted to talk about how followers do not equal dollars. That's the name of the podcast episode. I was followers do not equal dollars. Let's talk about that. And it's funny, I think this is actually pretty relevant, this personal side to what I'm telling you guys, just allowing you guys into a little insight in my life. It's that we look at the doing all of the time, the doing, the more. And today, as I was feeling this, I was feeling myself I woke up like, just heavy hearted, a little heartbroken, crying the ugly tears, like crying, like ugly crying, like, like that ugly cry you have. You're just like, I'm gonna ugly cry. And then utilizing it as momentum and going into my spaces and like going online and going live and just being like, I need to like utilize this energy to share with my community and be vulnerable. And although I wasn't like, me and my boyfriend are having troubles, it's more like, no, like, let me tell you a little bit about my story and how these ebbs actually help me with my flow. Like this feeling this morning spurned this whole conversation into the arc and then into my live, into my IG live, which ended up coinciding me talking about scale, my newest program. So it's like this vulnerability piece, this heaviness that I was feeling, and I was allowing, and even through meditation, I allowed myself to feel it. I allowed myself to feel that heartbreak, to really own it and to be okay with it, and to let the little girl inside me just be like, I just need a moment, and I just want to cry, and I want to be upset, and I want to be mad, and I want to be like, I want to feel like, I want to just allow myself to feel instead of being like, no, you can't feel that, and not allowing myself to integrate these feelings inside of me. And the moment that I do that is the moment that I feel this sense of like action. I need to take action, even though I'm heavy and I feel heavy, and it's like I'm like, okay, let me just follow in the alignment here. And so I'm acting on this. I felt it in my bones. I'm like, I'm going to go live. I'm going to tell him my story. I'm going to tell him why I became a coach. I was like, why did you become a coach? Well, it's because it was my own fucking healing. I became a coach not only for the money. Yeah, I thought that there would be a little money extra. I didn't actually think it would turn into a whole 6-figure business. That's not what I thought. I was like, that's a nice goal and it's exciting. But at the end of the day, I was like, tattooing's my main gig. Like I just wanted the extra little income. And to be honest, I became a coach because it gave me a reason to learn. It gave me a reason to up level. It gave me a reason to keep going. Before I had no sense of self. I had no sense of, I didn't know who I was. I was copying everything. I mean, if you guys have been with me and you've known my story, you know that like, the very beginning of my career, I would take other people's tattoos and I would post them as my own because I just didn't know how to own who I was. I would get naked online just because I knew that was the thing that got me a lot of views and a lot of likes and a lot of follows. And it was like, oh, okay, this could help me potentially in my business. So the more views I get, the more dollars I make, right? And that was my whole thing. That's what I did for a majority of the time I've been on social media, which is like 15 years. Just needed the validation. All I wanted was to be liked. All I wanted was to feel like I was a somebody. And then obviously I hit my face in the ground and I got caught very publicly, and it was the best day of my life, although at the time I could tell you it was the worst day of my motherfucking life. Now I look back at it and it's like the best day of my life, and it's funny because it's always that reminds me, it's always that situation, that time of my life, that year of shame. And I mean, there was many, many years of shame, many, many, many years of shame. But that year was like the rock bottom I needed. It was the one that probably saved my life. And it was the one that makes me realize that these moments when I wake up, when I feel a little heartbroken, or I feel like, oh my God, what does this mean? Like the future is unknown and it feels really wobbly and I don't know how to feel, and I'm just feeling a little sad. It's like I always get brought back to that feeling, to that moment back in, 2016, when I hit that rock bottom and my whole name was was a smear campaign. And it still is. I mean, sometimes people still bring it up these days, but I own it so well that I'm like, no, it's all good, dude. Like, that is a part of my story. You're absolutely right. So it's like, it's not even haterade. I just look at it as like, yeah, I remember her and I love her and I adore her. And I love her through the things that she felt like she needed to do in order to feel something, any type of worth, because she didn't know how to do it herself, didn't know how to create it herself. So it's like I felt gnarly this morning. I felt like saddened, and it brought me back to that time in 2016 and how I now call it the best day of my life, and how it came here, how in this very moment, as I'm feeling saddened and I'm utilizing it as alchemy, I'm alchemizing it and utilizing it as momentum to share with my community. and I'm sharing this with my community. I'm going live. I'm telling them this story. I'm telling them like how I'm feeling. I'm telling them why I became a coach. And the big reason why was because of that story. It was because I wanted to help people never feel shame in their body again about who they are, where they're at in their business, where they're at in their tattooing and their artwork, and who they and in themselves, own who they are, feel the intrinsic wealth, their worthiness, their enoughness, utilizing any shame that they've ever had, any wrongdoings, any guilt, anything that they have, and utilizing it as momentum, turning it into their power. I utilized my shame and insecurities and turned it into momentum and power. And that's the reason why I became a coach. I was like, I want to help people. I never want someone to go through that again. And I utilize it through the lens of social media because I utilize social media for that validation. And it also ate me up and spit me out. Totally meant to interrupt this podcast for this beautiful new program I am just dropping, this container called Scale, where I am going to walk you through the 7 components to creating a separate passive income stream in the way of education, coaching, and mentoring. So if you have always desired in your soul that you are meant to be a teacher, an educator, a guide, a healer, a mentor, and you are also tattooing, but you're trying to hold both businesses at once, this container is for you. You're definitely gonna wanna know the 7 components on how to really create a sustainable business, but also how to create a coaching business. So this is basically the blueprint on how to create a thriving coaching business, and something I'm going to be walking you through trainings, through live calls, through group coaching, as well as one-on-one coaching with me especially. Because big business, big energy, baby. If you're ready to create that tattoo empire, this is for you. Check the show notes. The link is there. Hop on a connection call with me, and we'll see what we can do. And so it was one of those things where I was like, social media is the one place where, we have a lot of negative things happening, like depression and suicide rates going up and these kinds of things. And it's like, how can we learn to heal ourselves, learn how to have the tools to walk ourselves through owning a business and being online and being who we are authentically, and make good money, and know that when the shit happens, when people start talking shit, or someone, or someone tries to, discredit you or invalidate you or whatever it is, you're like, I don't invalidate myself, so you can say whatever you want. And even if it does hurt, you're like, ooh, I know that there's a trigger there, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to heal that. That's why I became a coach. And then all of a sudden it's like, I decided I was going to lean back today. I was like, you know what? After my calls, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything more. I had like a whole list of things I wanted to do. And I was like, I'm just tired. I just want to read and be done. And so I ended up reading. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and just check on just one last email that I had to check. And all of a sudden I checked the email. And today I grossed $10,000 in 2 sales, 2 people entering in Scale. And so the way I look at this is this: these vulnerability pieces, these moments and times, these are all I look at them as like assets in your content. Your content are your intellectual assets. And the more that people get to know you over time and they see who you are and your willingness to show up, I have had the lowest engagement in the last few weeks, and I've had, all of last year. And we're talking about like really low, like in the ratio of me having 179,000 followers, it looks like I should really only have maybe like 5,000 followers to 10,000 followers, like actually 10,000 people actually seeing my stuff. You know what I mean? Or 1,000 people really seeing my stuff and getting like 100 likes off the thing. And I have had the best conversion rate I've ever had when it came to how much money I'm making based on per post. So I want you guys to understand this. It's like, first off, I pivoted the way that I was posting. I wasn't just doing it for virality. I was like, okay, yes, a lot of likes is great and it feels good for the ego, but it does not mean that I'm going to be able to convert all these new people into dollars. I'm not going to be able to convert these people into clients. And so I decided to pivot and say, I'm not going to do everything for the likes and the follows. What I am going to do, is I am going to really buckle down on what it is that I know is going to be the better conversion. What am I utilizing social media for? I'm utilizing social media as a business, as an entrepreneur, not as an influencer. And so when we can get out of the mindset of us being influencers, and because influencers only care about how many likes they get and how many followers they have, because they're utilizing their platform to spread the message of like the skincare they're using or the hair products or the clothes that they're wearing. Whereas we as business owners are not doing it for the likes and the follows. We're doing it as a business. And conversion, normally, what I've noticed and what the trends have been since I've been on this kick and been really experimenting a lot this year, because I knew that the algorithm had changed. So I was like, fuck it. The algorithm's going to change, and I'm not going to get as much, activity, engagement happening on my content, not as normal. Like, it's dropped 85%. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to try something different. Might as well. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get the same views and likes and whatever. Let's just see what happens. And so what I did instead was I started to differentiate my content. And I'm not just saying like with the reels and the carousels and the posts. It's like the things that I'm saying. I'm like, here's a sales post. This is a directly converting post. This is a directly visibility post. This is directly. So I'm like making all of these decisions, trying them over and over and over again, doing them and diversifying them in different wordings and different messages, and really honing in on like my message, who I'm speaking to, who the things are for, whatever it might be. And I've had the best conversion and had the lowest engagement. So this is just case in point proven that followers or likes or whatever you're thinking do not equal dollars. And I've also been showing up a lot more in not only in the side of like education, but as myself. So owning my stories more, like diving deeper into even the hurtful stories, the ones that I really hate talking about, because I'm like, still, I'm actually really not embarrassed by them anymore. But at the beginning of this year, I would say I was still really, really embarrassed. And I would even say that even like by last year, I would have almost like been so hurt if someone would have been like, oh, you're the one who stole those photos and da 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 da. Like now people say that shit and I'm like, yeah, I am. Okay. And like, it's so funny how much we can heal ourselves through that when we are just owning it. Because I say all the things that people might say the things, but I've already said them. So it's not like, I'm like, you can't hurt me, bro, because I've already said it and I've already gone deep into it. And I'm willing to go that deep with my community because of the fact that don't get me wrong. I'm not utilizing it as like vulnerability as a tactic for marketing. I'm utilizing it as a feminine leadership tactic. Like as a feminine leader, I lead from like my feminine, I lead from the balance of the masculine and the feminine. And I'm not leading from a wounded masculine where I'm mothering my business, where I feel like I've always got to be on top of my business. Oh my God, what is it doing? What more do I have to do? I actually get to be a fucking human and I get to make money. And that's fucking real. Like I can be sad and still in flow. I can be in my ebb and still be in flow. Like that's like the funny part. There's no differentiation between the doing and the being when you are in alignment. And that's the thing, is that like I have done so much embodiment work in order for me to be in alignment with the things that I'm doing, that I just trust. I trust, again, I talk about this all to the arc. If you're not in the arc, you need to be getting on that shit, because this is like a daily training thing. It's like a daily podcast. That's what one of my members had said. I think it was Haley. She was like, oh, this is like a daily podcast, my favorite part. And I was like, yeah, that's so sweet. It's like we talk about the parts where oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. I just saw Haley's red hair in my mind, and I was like, ah. That's called ADHD. Anyway, so when I'm looking at it as like a tactic, I'm not looking at vulnerability as a tactic. I'm looking at it from a perspective of like, I'm doing this because I know that the more me I am, the more money I make. That's a true, real mantra I have. I think I've said this in the last couple episodes. It's like, the more me I am, the more money I make. And the more me I am, in the online space, the more money I make. And why do I say that? It's because I'm creating that know, like, and trust factor. People get to know me, they like me, and they trust me. Why? Because I'm so fucking real. Like, I'm a real person. Yeah, I celebrate a lot. I talk about money a lot. Why not? Who cares? I make good money. I'm excited. You're my community. I want to celebrate with you. If you're making good money, I want to celebrate that shit with you. If you're making more money than me, fuck yes. Like, I want to know. Tell me about it. Let's stop demonizing money and start celebrating the fact that we're boss ass bitches. You know what I mean? Like, you're a boss ass bitch. Own that shit. Yeah, you don't have to talk about it online, but if you want to come into the community like the ARC and tell us, like, holy shit, Reese, I just made $20,000 in deposits, doing a launch. So cool. Fuck yeah. Like, let's celebrate that shit. Let's normalize making good money. Let's normalize celebrating our lives. Let's normalize, celebrating you in the ebbs. Like this morning, I celebrated the ebb in my meditation. I was laughing, ugly crying, and laughing all at the same time in my body, talking to spirit and talking to my guides, which right now is Mary Magdalene, and I've never met her before in my life. And I told my community, and they're like, "Oh my god!" So this is what I love about creating your own community. It's like I get to create my own community, and this tight-knit community literally are die-hard. This is a die-hard community, and not only does this community, I support the community, but they support me, and not only financially. Like, they came into a space, decided to invest in themselves. Why? To be in closer proximity to you. You. Can I say that one more time? You. It's not your art is trying to be in closer proximity to. It's you. The art is just the modality. The art is just the bridge. Hello. We are just in a little short break because I want to invite you into, not that I haven't been talking about this the entire podcast episode, but my Align and Rise membership. This is for the spiritual tattoo artist and creative entrepreneur who knows that true success, wealth, and freedom not only come from mastering the art of business, but also mastering the art of embodiment. So if you are craving to be a part of a community of spiritual trailblazers who dream fucking big but want to play bigger, if you're ready to up-level your voice and your content and your expression in a way that feels fun, authentic, and converting, or you're just ready to truly connect to intuition to bring more inner and outer wealth, then Align and Rise is for you. This is a place for you to stay plugged into the constant evolution and self-mastery. And I'm talking about over $8,000 in programs for business, marketing, and self-mastery. Right when you sign up, we're talking about live Zoom calls, 2 of them every month with me, and we have daily trainings in Telegram with a community of just badass creative entrepreneurs and spiritual tattoo artists. So if you're really wanting to stay plugged into inspiration and you just are looking for the abundance of more and more on top of more, then this is the place you want to stay plugged into. And guess what? It's only $88 a month. So we're talking about over $8,000 in bonuses right when you come in, talking about $4,000 in value every single month. Plus we're going to be doing guest experts and other seminars every quarter. So you're getting jam-packed of value, inspiration, education, and programs on how to scale and grow your business in a holistic way, all for $88 a month. Check the show notes. Click that link, bitch. I love you. My art is coaching, tattooing, mentoring. Those are my art pieces. I differentiate my art in so many ways. It's what I love to do. As a manifesting generator, I'm like, I can't just do tattooing. I've realized that. I've always been that way. I've always been the kind of person that wanted to do paintings and drawings and do art shows and do tattoo shows and then do, open up my shop. And I always needed more. I always needed to keep moving. And so with this, it's just like, oh my God, I get to be a mentor, a coach, educator, and I get to tattoo and create art. Like, this is amazing. This is my art. My art is my business. And I get to do it from my human. I get to do it from a space where I'm not trying to highlight reel my life and be like, oh, this is all of me and this, there's never a bad day. fuck that. There's a bad day. Today wasn't the best of days. Like, even now I have like cry eyeballs. Like, you could feel the prickles behind your eyes where you just feel like you want to cry. And for some reason, I just felt so called to come onto here and express myself in my art. This is my form of self-expression. Me podcasting, me showing up live in the online space, me sharing the realness, the rawness of what happens in a day-to-day. And then all of a sudden, boom shakalaka, all of a sudden I have $10,000. I'm like, what just happened? Like, this is crazy pants. But it's real. It gets to be real. And that's why I'm like, oh my God, and it was funny because even yesterday I was like, man, this is the lowest engagement I've gotten in a really long time. And it's kind of, I could start to feel the old patterns of emotions coming up and being like, ooh, you better do something. And it's almost like my fingers are like itching. My fingers are itching to do the viral thing. It's like, just do the viral thing so you can get your hit of dopamine. Like, just do the viral thing. And I'm like, Reese, bitch, no, hold out. Like, you are on a mission. You are here to prove to people that they don't need a lot of following to convert high, to have high conversion rates, to have high luxury clients. I see it time and time and time again. One of my mentors has 12,000 followers. And honestly, when I first started following her, she was at like 3,000 followers and she was already she was having $1 million years. She just had $1 million week or $1 million 12 days. And I was like, oh my God, you're fucking incredible. And it's because she's just herself. It's like the weirdest, craziest thing to watch. You're like, wait a minute, that's it? Why am I overcomplicating this? Like, why am I overcomplicating it? It's because of fear. This bitch has no fear. I mean, she does, but like, goddamn, I'm like, this bitch, she's on another planet, like, oh my God, I could rave about Shosh. But anyway, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I want you to know that it has nothing to do with engagement or has nothing to do with your following. And the more you are, yes, you will see engagement drop. When you pivot, you will see shit drop. You will see it drop. When I pivoted, it dropped. The moment I started talking about becoming a coach, a tattoo artist becoming a coach, my shit dropped super fast because it's not what I'm usually talking about. I'm talking about normally authentic expression, social media, more clients. I'm talking about more clients for tattoo artists. I'm never talking about tattooers becoming coaches. So the algorithm is like, what's happening? Why are you talking about this? This is not your usual. So all the people that are following me are like, this isn't for me. But it is for the select few people that I know it's meant for. Why? Because they ask. In my spaces, I listen. And this is where I come up with my content. This is where I come up with my ideas for coaching. I listen. I just hear. Your clients, they tell you things. They tell you stories. Those stories are the stories that are going to be the most beautiful stories that people can connect with online. But obviously not everybody wants to read a long story, but the few that do are the ones that are going to pay you the thousands of dollars for your tattoos. I'm going to tell you that right now. All my tattoo clients, all of them now these days in the past 3 years, love my educational content to my tattooers. I post maybe one tattoo a week on my page, and I still booked out 6 months in advance in November in 1 week. We did that, I think, in a week and a half. We booked out 6 months in advance in a week and a half, and I only post one tattoo a week. Tell me how that makes sense, right? And people are like, oh, you have to have all these tattoos on there. I can be the case in point proof that you don't. Like, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. What was necessary to do that? Show the fuck up. Be different. Every tattoo artist out there is only doing tattoos. And then they're like, well, let me just do tattoo reels. Let me show my art. And it's like, oh, but the one thing that we're all so afraid of, because we're afraid the other artists are going to have something to say, even though those fuckers don't pay our bills. It's like, oh, but the people that pay the bills are the ones that care, because they're like, wow, like, I really feel this. I had one day I wanted to fill I had a cancellation this week, actually. Whatever week this is, it's going to be different. But and I was like, you know what? Let's put out a little private call to the emailing list. It says like, we're just going to do, Reiki healing tattoos, because I've been dying to like really push more of the Reiki instead of just the energy healing aspect instead of the tattoo. So I wanted the Reiki to be longer than the tattoo. So I was like, let me do small tatties. It's something I never do. I'm always a big scale girl. Let me do some really, really beautiful tattoos from like my soul and then offer these out. I like my system was like, I honestly thought you would get like one or two, because they're so used to seeing what from me. They're so used to seeing large scale, like realistic warrior women. That's what they're used to. So we were like, oh, maybe not. Oh my God, we had to find an extra day in order to fill everybody in. Like, it was like that. And then we're probably going to have to fill more, because we've been getting back so many really, really positive feedback from it, because they're like, oh my God, I need this. We even had a woman that was like, I don't even know how we got on your emailing list. I don't even know who you are, but I just checked out your stuff and you are perfect. My husband just went through this. He needs this. I want this. Yes, we need healing. And I was like, oh my God. It was like, why? Because of who I am online. I don't even promote, fine line tattooing or dot work tattooing, because that's not what I do. That's not what I'm known for. And yet I am known for spiritual, intentional healing. That's it. I don't have to say tattoos. I'm a healer. I am a guide. I am a coach. I am a mentor. I am an artist. I am so many things, but who I am is what causes these things to happen. Now, all of a sudden, I have a full day of fine line tattoos where I'm going to be doing Reiki all day. I'm so excited. I just opened up a coaching container for artists who decide that their desire wants to be, they're like, Reese, I want to be like what you're doing. And I'm like, yes, I want you to do it too. And I want you to do it better and faster than me. And so I'm opening that up. And although that's not the people out there, there's a few. Literally just sold 2, made 10 grand. And it's like, oh my, so like, I'm going to tell you right now, the moment that you just decide you're like, I am the brand, you are going to open yourself up to the possibilities of all the things. Because when you decide to pivot in your artwork, when you decide to revolutionize the things you're doing in your art, whether you decide to pivot in your business entirely, where you're like, I want to add coaching, I want to add this extra, I want to add that extra, I want to do this extra, then you get to really diversify your creativity. That's the fun part. It's like, not every day's the same for me. I don't just go to the shop every single day and it becomes monotonous. Don't get me wrong, I love tattooing, but like all of us, we find that there's monotony in it. I've been doing it for, 7-8 years straight without any coaching. I had apprentices in shops and things like this, and that's kind of obviously what led to the next step. The natural next step was coaching. And so once I kind of moved in that direction, I was like, yeah, okay, coaching's the next step. And then when I realized how I could impact more people at one time instead of just doing one-on-ones, right? Because when we're just tattooing, it's just one-on-one. I can't tattoo 4 people at the same time. And so this is the reason why education just felt really right, because I was like, oh, well, then I get to do this for more people. And so it's like this is what it gets to be like. It gets to be what you make it. You get to be in your cry, and you get to be in your sadness, and you get to alchemize that sadness, and you get to walk with it, and you get to show people how to walk with it, and you get to show up as yourself, and then you get to make money doing it, and you get to realize that it doesn't mean anything about your engagement or your following or your likes. That the conversion comes from the most converting things that happen in life are the ones that are the smallest. The smallest things that happen is all I did was make that left turn. That was it. There was no wham bam, thank you ma'am, whole crazy pivotal thing. It was just all I did was make that left turn. All I did was show up. All I did was this. And even though it got me 5 followers, people constantly think, because since you're I don't know how to measure my metrics on how things are working, you don't know which posts are the ones that got you, you know, the clients or whatever. And when you really pay attention, you can understand it. You're like, oh, look at how many times someone clicked this link after they saw this, or oh, look at how many times they did it, you know? And we get to measure that. And the way that we create that trust, especially as tattooers, we're like, we create the trust that, yes, you have a good product. That's fucking, I think this is so hilarious whenever I get this stuff online. When someone's like, oh, just be a good tattoo artist. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Joe. Fucking just be a good tattoo artist. I thought that was just, like, I didn't realize I had to say that. Like, your product actually has to be good in order for you to, like, get clients. Like, thanks, you know, Kyle. Sorry to the Kyles out there. You know, it's like, thanks, Kyle, for telling me something that we all should just innately have in our bodies. Yeah, I'm supposed to have a good fucking product. Sure. Stop being an influencer. Just do good tattoos. Yeah, thanks, guys. Like, let me smack you upside the head, you idiot. Like, and also, how about you, like, take your own advice? Because goddamn, every time I look, I'm like, really? Why are you saying anything? Please focus on your art. You know, but of course, it's always like that. And so it's like one of those things. It's like, yes, have a good fucking product. Have a good product. Make sure you're always working on that product. If you're not working on that product and making sure that product is looking good every single time, it's the best, it gets tattoo of the day every single day, then you ain't doing your job, and you shouldn't, and you should maybe not be focusing on social media. But at the end of the day, it's like, for me, I was able to focus on the art and social media because what? I'm an entrepreneur. We're entrepreneurs. We're not just tattoo artists, guys. Look at it as a CEO. You are a CEO of a company. Big business. This means that, you're going to be wearing a lot of hats until you can afford to get help. And even then, you're still going to be wearing a lot of hats. I still do all my social media. I still do all of my own tattoo designs. I still do all the cleaning. I do a lot of cleaning, not all of it. And, you know, and I still do a lot of shit on my own. Yes, I have help to help diversify that and to help create more momentum, but it's still on me, and I fucking love it. And you know what? Like, I'm sorry. People are like, you can't love it all the time. I do. But I have so much space that when I don't want to be in it, I don't have to be. That's the space I've created. That's the kind of freedom I want. And so, although I was going to talk a little bit more on, like, what posts are, like, really good posts and things like that, I feel like the tangent I just went on was perfect, case in point. But stay tuned for next week, because I will be talking about why the follower count, you know, it's like what we can do to really look at our metrics and our engagement to really, really see what it is what's working. Okay, what really is working. So, like I was saying before I got lost in a tangent of haterades, it's like the tattoos are meant to create that like. It's meant to create that like. And it can create that like no, like that no factor. Like, I know that she does good tattoos. I trust that she does good tattoos. I like the tattoo. But then the next step over, the one that says, that converts, is the one that's like, oh, but I see myself in her as well. And that is the part that is going to make people come get a fine line tattoo by a realistic tattoo artist over all the fine line tattooers here in the fucking California place. People are traveling all over the place to come get this fine line Reiki tattoo by me, even though there are a lot of fine line tattooers probably better than me, and maybe even some of them doing Reiki, but for some reason they're coming to me for this thing. Why? I'm probably one of very few tattooers willing to put themselves out there in a really big, vulnerable, raw way. And that rawness allows people to be seen in me and in my content. And although those pieces of content don't get a lot of fucking love, a lot of engagement, because people are like, show us your boobs, or whatever it might be, you know, those are the most converting, because those are the ones that turn people from liking you to fucking loving you, to not, can't wait to do whatever it takes to come get work done by you. So that's it for today's episode, you guys. I'll see you next week. I love you so much. Thank you for holding me in this space.